The next story I'm going to tell you about is heartbreaking. I'm glad I wasn't in this situation. I know you would never want to be. You're a police officer. You're walking down the street. You think somebody is going for a gun. What do? You open fire. You kill them. Then you learn they didn't have a gun. They actually had a learning disability. Saturday, shortly after midnight in Koreatown, Stephen Washington was walking down the street in a gang area. After hearing a loud sound, police officers spotted Washington. They approached. They talked to him. He didn't respond. Instead, he made a movement for his waistband. Police thought he was going for a gun. They shot him. The family says Washington was autistic. He was walking home after visiting a friend. Washington was unarmed. It's a horrible tragedy. It tears your heart out. Is there anyone to blame here? Officers made the decision to shoot in a split second. Was that the only choice they had, Megan?
This is such a sad story. I read it and it literally just was so moving, and it's just so unfortunate. We have to take into consideration what those police officers deal with every day, specifically on a beat like they have, which is gang territory. They don't have minutes sometimes to make a decision. And, you know, I'm sure there's going to be an investigation by the LAPD. This is one of the most unfortunate incidents that I have heard. And all I can say is that I wish the family well. I wish the officers well. I'm sure the officers, if they could take it back, obviously, if they had 2 more minutes or 3 more minutes to make that decision, they're wishing for it right now. But police officers are faced, especially in a beat like they were working that night. They have to make sometimes split-second decisions in order to protect their own lives and the lives of the community. And
you know, Megan, I'll agree with you. If they had 2 minutes, they probably would not have done what they did.
Well, Fred, you know, I gotta say that, and I completely agree that this is a terrible, terrible tragedy and a very sad story. But, and I agree with Megan, this is a dangerous area. These cops put their lives on the line day after day after day. And what I want to know is if this kid is disabled, if he is that disabled, why is he out alone after midnight in a terrible neighborhood? Okay, and I'm not about blame, Fred. You wanted to know who's to blame. I don't really care. I'm not about blame. But, you know, the kid, he should not have been unescorted at night in that area.
But wait, if you're autistic, you can move around on your own, can't you, Ruth?
Well, if he's not able to respond to conversation, and if he's not safe on his own, then his friends and family shouldn't allow him to be on his own. That's a responsibility that they have.
You know, I think it's a valid point. I think it's a very difficult time to suggest that.
It's a terrible suggestion. It's a terrible, terrible. There's no unringing this bell. He's dead, and that's unfortunate, and he shouldn't be dead. But these cops did everything they were supposed to do.
Well, it's a very tough situation, and I'll tell you, I'm just glad I'm not in a position to have to make those decisions.
Absolutely, it's heartbreaking.
I don't think anybody would want to. Okay, last topic. Immigration is a controversial topic in California. One issue. Should amnesty be granted to illegals already in this country? Folks in Rancho Cucamonga don't think so, at least not all of them. There was a gathering over the weekend hosted by We the People, California's Crusader. The mayor of Rancho Cucamonga spoke, addressed the crowd and said, "Doggone it, how come Mexico, with huge amounts of natural resources, doesn't take care of its own people?" I think the mayor is against it. Ruth, this would have a huge effect on California. What do you think? Amnesty for everybody?
Well, here's the thing. This topic comes up. The immigration system is completely broken, and it's not fixable. Well, it's not. I'm not going to say it's not fixable, but anytime and here's my opportunity. I'm leaving it wide open. You guys can call me a racist, and it happens every time. But the truth is the truth that people that the illegal immigrants are putting an unbearable tax on the systems, the healthcare system, the education system, and it's just the fact. There's no evil, there's no good. It's a fact. And
why is that a racist remark? Why would that be a racist remark?
Well, because when I say that, people call me a racist. The truth is, allowing our emotions to run what needs to be a business deal is what keeps this the volatile issue that it is. We should absolutely take the emotions out of it. But people aren't allowed to. They won't allow themselves to. Instead, they want to point a finger at me because I say, oh, you know, the illegals are breaking the back of the education and the healthcare system. And that's why California is it's even more broke than the rest of the country as far as healthcare. That is our hugest problem, is the illegal immigrants that are taxing the system. Not that they're here working and they're paying tax. Of course they're working. They're wonderful people. I don't want to kick them out and send them home. But the truth is that we're allowing our emotions to rule in a situation where we should be looking at ways to reform the immigration problem, solve the problem, not harm people.
All right, so you're saying amnesty, no, not for everybody. Megan, go ahead.
I don't think so.
All right, let Megan go. We got about 35 seconds. Go ahead, Megan.
Amnesty, no, not a proponent of amnesty for some of the reasons that are already cited. If they would call it an assimilation bill, I'd be all for it. You know, one of the articles that I read today on amnesty was there was a big rally in D.C. and the SEIU flew in many people for that rally in D.C. And I have to kind of sit back and wonder, why does SEIU want amnesty so bad? Well, if you look at the SEIU numbers, you know, they only have about 7% of the working force right now as dues payers. So if they can get more of the immigrant workers on the SEIU dues and payroll, well, better off for them. And lastly, they interviewed an SEI woman who flew to D.C. on SEIU's dime, who has been in this country from San Salvador for 14 years, and she needed an interpreter. Why did she need an interpreter after being in this country for 14 years?
All right. Well,
assimilation.
All right. Well, with that, ladies, we got to wrap it up. We're over. Nice job, Megan. Ruth, always a pleasure. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Okay.